Okay, so we'll go back to this Trump video. You can just tell me when to
First
pause
president in the
when you
history
think
of our
it's good.
country took over. And look what happened to our country. Probably 20 million people. And you know, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Right there. So down, do you hear the Secret Service saying down and jumping on him quickly? I felt that the immediate detail within that inner perimeter did a really excellent job.
Right.
I also find it very interesting, of course, the confusion of everyone in the crowd. To me, you see in so many mass shootings and people just go hysteria. They, go in mass. People get hurt. They stampede. You did not see that here at all. And I wondered if it was because of confusion. Could it be fireworks or something like that? Remember, the mind's just thinking like this, right? So
putting the pieces together. Yeah, I think that those are fair assumptions of like, hey, why did this crowd remain steady eddies and not panic? One thing that was interesting that the Secret Service agent Jim Rathman said whenever he was on the stream was that just having watched the way that Donald Trump's presented and done things before, he recognizes that there's an alert. He sees the snipers getting prepared, and that's an unusual sight for him. So Donald Trump's also on alert in this moment, which I think was an interesting perspective that I didn't realize. So Donald Trump's like kind of not wanting to freak the crowd out, but clearly kind of scanning around and seeing what's going on himself.
So I don't make that out personally, but that doesn't mean that I'm not wrong. To me, it's an absolute moment of what is happening, what just happened. And of course, I hear that agent say down, I believe, and grab him and pull him out of his shoes. I mean, really the violence at which Trump and anyone else is overtaken in a case like this in terms of what we're taught to get that protectee down and surrounded and out of there quickly. It's hard to describe, but as you know, he had his shoes knocked off.
Right. Which I have questions about. So I believe it, and tell me what you think this American flag thing in the front, is that a bulletproof shield?
Where is this you're pointing to?
So
right?
You see the stars, the blue stripe with the stars. When we had the Jim Rathman on, he made mention that there's certain things that are protective, and that's why Trump goes down. So the assumption that I made was, well, maybe that's kind of a bulletproof blocker, so he can get down and it prevents any assault from that angle.
I don't think that's a blocker per se, but I could imagine that they have a shield system behind that. So I just think that's decorative, but I think behind that there should be some sort of shield protection, ballistic protection. But remember, not all shields are made alike. And so some that protect well against 45 caliber, larger bullets do not protect against rifle rounds. So it's, it depends on the grade and it depends on the bullet, but they certainly have him down, I believe, behind a protective shield behind that. I agree with you.
Yeah. So there's a human shield and then that protective shield. And as you see, they're coming as quick as they possibly can. When you were guarding Comey, was there ever a time where you had to do something like this, kind of rush in?
No, thankfully, we never had a situation. There was one situation that we certainly rushed him out of a situation, but never did we have shooting or anything like this. But that leads me to one point I really want to make that I forgot to make early on. The minute that you identify something as certainly as being a threat and even as being unknown, you get your protectee down. They don't like it when you say, come over here. You're getting in a hard space. You're getting off the stage and we're going to protect you till we figure it all out. that is mind-boggling. I don't know if your Secret Service, Mr. Rathman, said something about that, but I can't believe that wasn't done. You don't have to take the shot, but you have to get your protectee out of the zone.
Yeah, he mentions just the sheer amount of time we counted the seconds that it took. It was absurd.
Yeah, it's that's the other thing, that unless you train like this or are in these situations, seconds are forever. 1/1000 is forever, and so much can be done in that amount of time. The only thing I would say is I was disappointed they didn't get him out quicker, but we have to consider a couple of things. Look, he's almost 80.
Yeah.
He's a large man. They
Yeah.
wanted him to crouch down.
Yeah.
Think of your 7-year-old grandfather or whoever, Tyler, right? Older people you've been around. It's hard for them to crouch, and it's certainly
Right.
hard for them to crawl like that on the move, and to have people draped around them. So I think there's something that
I made
has to
mention of that. He had 10 large people dive on him. I'm like, his body has to be sore.
yeah,
I'm
it's
sore. He's like a football player all of a sudden, getting tackled.
Yeah, so there's all these human things. The other thing is, I know people are making a big deal about, oh, they let him, do the fight. It's not that they let him do that. It happens in a second, right? Fight. What did that just take me? 2 seconds,
Yeah, let's watch that whole sequence because they should have really got him up and out, and there should have been no
Should.
time for that. But he takes control of the whole situation. Let's watch that.
So this is, Tyler, where your training is really coming in.
Right, like it.
You're not. The other thing is, yeah, and you can stop it right here, and this is one of the hardest things to do, is you have certain fields of fire, certain visual areas you're responsible for, and you can see that everybody's kind of lost their focus, right? Who's looking in the back there, to make sure that, because nobody at this point knows, what if there's 2 or 3 gunmen?
Exactly.
Where exactly is that shot coming from? We all know now, but they didn't really know then. I mean, the snipers knew, but do these guys even really know where it's coming from? And they're, one person should be looking into the crowd, one person this way, one person this way, one person this way, and they should be getting him out of there. There's a lot of responsibility, and it's your training, Tyler. So now you're in the thick of it, and your training should step in.
And unfortunately, there's somebody who runs up on the stage who clearly forgot their training, who says, "What are we supposed to be doing? How are we doing it? Where are we going?"
I heard him say that. I know.
I'm like, that's what you have been paid to learn and do for the past how many ever years you've been on this.
I mean, this is going to become a training video for not only Secret Service, but for the FBI's protection detail, the so the FBI does the Attorney General and the Director. Those are the 2 main protection details that the FBI is responsible for. And, look at what we're seeing here. This is going to be used as a training video.
Oh, when you're ready, on you. Ready, move, up, move, go. Hawkeye's here.
Hawkeye's here. Yeah, we finally got the SWAT agents in to guard.
And those SWAT agents, my guess is that they're not Secret Service, because I felt like the protocol would be different. They'd be closer to that inner circle, maybe. But I'd love your assessment of that.
Well, this looks like they didn't train for this situation. In other words, in advance, and that's what I always say, the advance, the training, the preparation, what was done. It doesn't look like they ever did what we call a walkthrough. You actually literally chalk it out on the ground. Okay, there's 3 of us. If he's shot at, you're going there, you're going here, and I'm going here, and we're doing that. So to me, this whole presentation, although they put their lives on the line, because again, nobody knew who was going to be shooting, and they're literally a human shield that you're going to see come up, and these guys are standing in the line of fire too. It doesn't look orchestrated like I would normally see.
Right.
Which is, coming up in a line and dispersing and having every angle guarded. I don't see that. It looks like they didn't practice it. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that's why that's kind of my guess, and that's why I was like, I don't know if there's Secret Service on these SWAT.
Are we good?
We are watching a rally right now. Former President Trump was just in the middle of a
Okay, you
speech.
can stop there. You can stop there. See this, the man on the corner?
Mm-hmm.
He's looking behind himself. I saw him look to the left. I saw him look straight ahead. He's looking all over. Your field of fire has to be disciplined, because if you're not disciplined in your field of fire while you're looking back at what your buddy's field of fire is, that's when you get shot, or that's when somebody pops out of the crowd. And so this is concerning to me as a SWAT operator. I want to see each of these guys with a very specific field of fire that they're watching, so that the protectee with his inner circle can be moved, right? Because they're supposed to be moved without worrying about being shot, because these guys are protecting them.
Yeah, so they have a very defined vision protocol. They have a segment,
Yes.
45 degrees or whatever they're supposed to be scanning. Very interesting. Okay.
When what sounded like possible shots were fired, we saw the former president, take cover. Security is now surrounding him and getting him out of the event.
I got you.
Let me get my shoes.
Hold on, your head is bloody. So we got to move.
Let me get my shoes. Did his shoe? Is he wearing loafers? They just popped off. Did they take his shoes off?
Did you? I don't know if you saw the video, but there's a video when he gets moved off the stage, Tyler, and the shoes, they throw the shoes down. At least one of them I saw, and it looked like a sole actually popped out of it. So they look like not tied shoes, but kind of the slip-on man shoes. It was a little hard to see, but that's what it looked like to me. Who cares about the shoes? But that's literally, protectees do things like this. What about this? What about this? I want to do this. And so you're trying to control them and tell them what to do in mass chaos, as you're seeing here. The biggest problem I see here is who is protecting their 6, their, noon, their 3, their, who's protecting the peripheral? No one. I mean, those guys with guns are all over the place.
This woman that's up front is short, maybe tall for a woman. I'm not sure, because President Trump's 6'4". You are not known for your height, and James Comey is known for his height. Yes. Was there ever a discrepancy in that? Just knowing that this is a very tall man that I may have to give personal protection to in that way?
Yeah, I mean, certainly we had a lot of jokes about that. Because I am 5'1" and he was about 6'7", I think, with his shoes on, 6'8", something like that. He was very tall. But the bottom line is, are you, as an agent that's assigned to him, do you have your head about you, and are you going to be protecting him properly? Are you going to go to the space you're supposed to be in? Are you going to come to his aid and not panic, as I've seen happen, where people, and not on the director's detail, but I've seen it happen in other settings, that you expect an officer to serve and protect, and they're like taking cover. They panic because they've never really been in that situation. So I would just say this. I know there's a lot of women on this detail. I know there's been a lot said about their stature. There's a lot of good reasons to have women on these details, in my opinion. One, they can easily blend into the crowd without being recognized. They work that undercover component very well. The other thing is they can virtually disappear in small areas that a man can't even get into, such as if you need somebody up in an attic space, a crawl space, a small space. Women can provide that function that are of small stature. So there's a lot they can provide. But I think, for me personally, if I'm in charge of this detail, knowing the size of the protectee, I would perhaps want a taller individual just to shroud him. But remember too, Tyler, he's supposed to be down right now. Mm-hmm. He's supposed to be crouching, but he's almost 80 or close to 80, so there's just a lot of factors. I really have been disappointed to see everybody come down on these women. You know, one couldn't find their holster with their gun, and then, you know, their stature was at issue. But if you put a 5'5" man in there, you've got the same problem. So it's really not that she's a woman, it's that she's a short woman.
Yeah, and I have no issue with a woman or that she's short. I do have an issue with the one in the back saying she doesn't know where she's at or what they're supposed to be doing. I have an issue, and that's not because of her gender. That's just because of clearly somebody that wasn't prepared for fight or flight and hadn't been battle tested.
Yeah, I agree with that. And that's what I was saying. That's where, you know, it's fine to have a woman. They go through all the same training. Everything is expected of them, their marksmanship, their ability to act under these harsh conditions. But she did not pass that test. You know, she certainly, you know, she's going to be getting a lot of scrutiny, and I doubt we're going to see her on a high profile detail again.
Yeah, well, she certainly wasn't with him at the Republican National Convention. I looked.
Obviously, a huge security concern there. People were screaming. Still unclear exactly what happened, but
You
very big security.
See how this person has no field of fire?
Mm-hmm.
He's looking all around. There are not the proper amount of people on this stage. It should literally be 4, and they should have those specific fields of fire we talked about, because other than that, it's not safe.
Right.
And then they should be covering those fields of fire so this unit that has their protectee can move without worrying about being shot from behind.
I have I'm going to put up, just now that we're kind of to this segment, I have a different angle of this that's rarely been seen. That's not what I meant to click on.
You're so good at this, Tyler. You
Yeah.
really are. These are the best visuals that I've seen up close, and how you've put all this footage together is really good.
Okay, so this is from that backside. Whoops, I fast forwarded. So this is going to be coming from someone on that bleacher stand from that backside.
Right.
I
See
mean,
these guys?
yeah.
Why isn't he here? Why isn't he here? They're finally a little bit getting into position, but he needs to be there. He needs to be on the details other side.
Right.
See what I'm saying?
Right.
You've got this one here. At least you have 3 now. I don't know what she's doing exactly.
I don't know either. So he's kind of like, here's where they're trying to get to. There's a man, obviously you see, ready to. This guy's ready. I mean, this man is the door agent is ready.
Door agent. At least he did what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to get that door open and ready. I don't know what this is walking around.
I know.
He's got his backpack.
He looks like he doesn't know what he's doing. I doubt he's Secret Service.
You see that woman under the stands? That's the first time. You're going to see the shoe right here too, by the way. This is just, we can stop right here for 1 second. What this is the perfect example of a team that has not practiced and rehearsed what it would do in a bad situation, what it would do to get your protectee off the stage. That's what I'm seeing. Nothing's reversed. And, you know, I've said before on air that the job that they did to get him down and to cover him in that human shield, I thought was done really, really well. But all of this imaginations, a little rough.
It's rough. Clearly somebody's been injured there.
Yeah.
Could be that man that we pointed out from the banister.
The white. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. That's my guess. We go, medic. On top. Wait, fight.
See, so now the crowd is pumped up. They're not even at all with a safety concern. They're shouting USA. I mean, that was one of the biggest things that stuck out to me is the reaction of this crowd. I know they were confused, but at some point they realize he's been shot and they're still just standing up like normal. There's a couple, did you see, hiding underneath but most of them are, seemingly not worried at all about getting shot.
It's very interesting. It's almost like, again, the countenance of the authority in the space makes a difference. And so I do think that Donald Trump sort of like, hey, I'm going to fight, made the people feel safe, even though it was an unsafe situation. If he was panicking and running out, there would have been fear that hit the room.
Well, Tyler, I'm glad you brought that up because the composure and sort of the might that Trump had. I mean, you never know how somebody's going to react if they're shot. He took it. Wow. I mean, to me, I was really, whether you like Trump or don't like Trump, I mean, there's a lot of things I don't like about Trump. He took this shot like a warrior, unfazed.
And this isn't the first time either that he's had this kind of thing happen.
So, folks, here's what happens. I will call up Carrier, the president, because I have to do it myself. I know it's not.
So see, okay, stop here. See, at least on this one a little bit, but you had this guy come up, he's looking that way. They still are a little bit confused there, but you saw what they were supposed to do, I think, and then they broke away from it.
Yeah. He goes back to the same thing. He said, in this moment, he's like, well, I could have taken care of it myself, but I got to give a speech.
Thank you for the warning. I was ready for him, but it's much easier if the cops do it. Don't we agree?
I mean, and then again, this is an example that happened in Reno. Same kind of a thing.
North in Reno, when Secret Service agents rushed him off the stage in the middle of his stump speech. There was some commotion in front of the stage. Someone, probably Secret Service agents, started yelling, "Gun, gun." Agents.
So there's two other examples of Trump being in this situation.
But if I can stop you there, did you see what they did? At any sign of trouble, they grabbed him and got him to a hard area.
Yep.
And that is just not what it all happened here. I'm dumbfounded. And it's really comes down to the on-scene commander. Right. That's who's really the buck. It stops with the director, definitely, because she's making the decision who are these on-scene commander. But the on-scene commander there, I don't know. I mean, my mouth is dropped.
Again, that person likely, I think that's the person we recognize as injured from that other video.
Yes, the guy who just went down.
Trump doing his chant.
See, they're still, I mean, what really surprises me here, obviously, is this time lapse. It's just taking forever. You saw how they got him off the stage in the other clip, 2 seconds, right? Maybe 3. It's been an eternity from a tactical standpoint so far.
It was like 1 minute and 40 seconds, I think. Look at here's the point that I was trying to make about that stripe, the star and the blue and the red, white stripe. Look at the one on the ground. It's transparent. And then you look at the one on the stage and there's clearly something blocking the light.
Oh yeah, I agree. There's something in there, but I think it's decorative, on both sides of it, and in the middle.
In the middle, there's something there. Yeah, that's they just put decoration over the top of whatever it was my thought.
See that? I think that's part of his shoe. I saw the footage where. Do you see that down on the ground?
Yes, I see that right here.
You're right there. Yep. I saw those shoes come down. I think that was part of assault.
I wish this camera was on it right here too, because he pauses again at the end of the stage to do more fist pumping. I don't understand how that's even allowed.
Well, I will say they're very hard to control. And I also will say this, Tyler. It's hard as somebody who's been in those shoes. You know, I hate to sit here on Monday morning quarterback and say I would have done it perfect and look at all these mistakes. Because at the end of the day, they did get him out of there. I'm talking about this part of it now. I'm not going to lay off the whole planning and
Low roof.
but I'm just talking about from here. It is so hard to control some protectees. They just don't want to listen. And Trump is one of them. But Trump is yet, I mean, I'm just going to say it. He's inspiring in this moment because he's just like, try and shoot. I mean, it makes you wonder, geez, is he all there? I mean, most people don't act like that when they're getting shot.
Well, one thing that we've known about Trump is in the face of adversity, and this goes back all the way to the 80s, he gets stronger. When he was dealing with bankruptcies from his corporate casinos that didn't work out. And there was issues there because some of the people he worked with tragically died in an aircraft accident, but he got stronger when he went through his very public divorce with Ivana Trump, and he was on the front page of every headline. He got stronger. Whenever he was impeached as president, he got stronger. Whenever he was having to face all of these felony counts that are questionable from a lot of measurements, he got stronger. And so for me, I'm not surprised to see him. I think it's one of the most iconic moments of our lifetime. And I think 100 years from now, when we're all dead and gone, except for the babies that are alive right now, they're going to live to be 120. They're not going to be able to not talk about this moment.
Oh, and that's what I think you alluded to it too. It doesn't matter whether it's Biden or if it would have been, Kennedy. It doesn't matter. What matters is the moment, because in our lifetime, I've seen 2 attempted assassinations now, right? That's unusual, right? Reagan and now this one. But most people never see more than one in their whole lifetime. Mm-hmm. There's normally not a complete breakdown of security like this. Right. And in all of those instances, it was the same situation, Tyler, to be honest, breakdown of security.
USA.
Where is this from? A bystander?
This is from the man that was in the bleachers behind Trump. And he's got his phone out, like my hand is representing his phone, filming. People thought I was just making a weird symbol, but I was pretending to be his phone.
Wow. He does a pretty good job.
I know. I wish a couple times I wish he would have turned his phone, but yeah.
See how this is how it should have looked, but about a minute and 30 seconds ago.
When he's in the high line of visibility where he actually did get shot in the head, he should have been crouching like this.
Yeah, they're crouching, but they're pushing, they're moving him, they're getting out of there. And you can see here, this woman is tall enough to protect him crouching.
Right.
See, they're even, because she's standing more upright. So the whole woman thing, I think, has been completely blown out of proportion. And for all these people saying, well, they put women on there because they didn't care if he got shot or, that made it lesser of protection. I just disagree. But then again, I'm a woman.
Well, you're a woman who did this exact job for somebody that's very high profile too, and is also very tall. Something that I noticed that's interesting about the situation in Reno that I showed you, which was the one where he was inside, he immediately crouched. He knew the protocol, and it's almost like he's either himself in shock and not able to respond how he wants, or advertently choosing not to. But I know he knows he's supposed to crouch because he did it in the prior times where this type of thing took place, and he's doing it here.
Well, I think that one of the things is he was just shot. And I know everybody wants to say, not everybody, some people want to say he wasn't really shot. He was
Yeah.
grazed. You can call it potato. That bullet creased his ear and I think cut his ear, from my understanding. It might not be fixable by stitching it, but I think it's going to end up being like an Evander Holyfield ear, right? He's got a
Yep.
little niche there. That's how
That-
I see it in the pictures I've seen.
That's kind of what everybody's thinking, unless they, were able to do some kind of like cosmetic reconstruction. I always used to wonder what I would do if I was in the ocean and I saw a shark come near me, and I was in the ocean and I saw a stingray that I thought was a shark, and I totally froze. I think I maybe screamed and froze. And I'm like, now I know what I will do. And I don't think that's probably the right technique to survive if there is a shark. And I go to Panama City Beach sometimes where there has been, unfortunately, quite a bit of shark attacks. But the point that I'm trying to make is there's something about not knowing how you'll respond until you're in the moment, and then actually being in the moment prepares you to respond better the next time you're in the moment, right?
Yeah, and he's had multiple instances, and like you say, he's, I think, the most hated person maybe in the world right now. Even though he's also beloved by many, there are people that vehemently hate this man.
Mm-hmm.
He realizes he's a target, and I think that gives him courage, to
Right.
just stand up and say, okay, everybody hates me anyway. I'm here and you're not knocking me down.
Right. Well, and even to that regard, the sheer threats against him are apocalyptic in nature. We've learned that the Secret Service had intel that the nation of Iran was planning to assassinate him on this very day. So on any given day, there's entire nations trying to take him down, and then there's disgruntled or confused or perplexed and evil people in America also trying to take him down. It's not like he's a beloved figure across the nation that is running for president. He's somebody who very controversial, served as president, had policies that some agree with, some don't agree with. And on any given day, there's dozens, if not hundreds of people that are attempting to take his life.
Absolutely. So okay, can you stop? And I don't know, but do you see this woman in the lead? She's
Mhm.
looking all over the place.
Mhm.
What is your field of fire? I mean, what is your responsibility? She should count on that there's people behind her looking that way. Even if they're not on this main detail, there should be those SWAT officers with the police vest guarding their 6, we call it, right? Their 6 o'clock. But she is all over the place. I'm not trying to be too critical of her, but it just seems like she's never really trained for a moment like this to me.
And that woman in the back's the one who didn't know where they were going.
Poor woman who did her gun in her holster.
That's where she's been criticized highly, right?
I mean, I don't like to nitpick things like that, because I can tell you that it is hard. I don't know what else to say, but it's hard for me to criticize these people, because when you're in those shoes and things get hectic, you can make mistakes, like not being able to find your holster. But I'm not even sure, she could have just depressed her muzzle more. The muzzle awareness here was concerning. I would expected it, her gun to be, her hand to be on her gun, to everything be at the ready. But at this point, I don't even think they understand what they're looking at to make sure they're not shot at from. Does that
That's what
make
it
sense?
felt like. Yeah, it felt like. Yeah. And the whole sequence of events that we saw was 2.5 minutes. And then there's commentators like us that have spent hours watching 2.5 minutes. It's, in some ways, that's not fair either. But the biggest breakdown certainly wasn't what happened on that stage, and them getting off the stage and into the vehicle. The biggest breakdown was, why wasn't a roof? I'm just calling it a football field away, because when you consider the end zones and the track, it's actually closer than a football field away. There was a shooter a football field away on a building that had a clear line of sight, and nobody secured the building. Nobody, even though he was labeled as suspicious and a threat, took care of this person, and that's the biggest breakdown.
100%. So we can nitpick, what we just nitpicked, and I think you do that just to learn from it. Like I
Right.
said, that video is going to be shown in every protection detail class over and over and over again. But if you don't practice and you don't rehearse, Tyler, that's what happens.